The heart of Africa, the giant of Africa, big brother of Africa are the few of the praiseworthy names given to Nigeria due to years of mediation and support for other African nations. The largest economy on this continent has had its own issues to contend with of late, but yet its status as a beacon of hope for the black race is not deniable. The recent socio-economic issues caused by the new currency redesign and all other attending economic factors have definitely raised pulses of investors at home and abroad. The Nigerian exchange has had some bearish showing to further prove this, but yet the bulls tend to pull some rather impressive comebacks to put smiles on local investors' faces, the international community and those in the diaspora. How has the country been faring? What about the citizens and, of course, businesses owned by Nigerians, both within and outside the shores of the land? Are they still hopeful and keeping faith with the country, believing that things will get better in time socio-economically? I have with me, from Brussels, Belgium, Collins Nweke, who is Director, BELUX Nigeria Chamber of Commerce, and he tends to give us what the heartbeat of Nigerians in diaspora and, of course, investors outside of the shores of the country is. On the show this morning. Thank you so much, Collins, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So from the perspective of a diasporan, how would you rate Nigeria's socio-economic status?
Well, the social economic status of Nigeria, as far as the diaspora is concerned, could actually be better. Now, I weigh my words very carefully because, I could have told you that the situation is abysmal and that, the diaspora have hung up on Nigeria. And as they do that, they carry along with them their, friends and associates, who have deep appetite for investment in Nigeria. But that is not the case. So, the crisis that Nigeria is facing currently, the currency crisis, is something that the country can do without. But at the same time, I believe that both the Nigerian diaspora and their investment friends and associates are sophisticated investors who do know that some of these issues, though avoidable, are more or less inevitable, and Nigeria is not alone in those sort of crises, although it does have its own edge. So they are watching very closely, and they cannot wait for the dust to settle, and that will settle, at the end of the election, and then they will resume intensive talks and concrete steps towards investing in Nigeria.
All right, we are aware that the current situation economically for Nigeria is not palatable, it's not so sweet, but then we still see that the country is quite resilient and businesses are still going on, the economy is still running, though maybe not at the pace that one would want. Now, if you were to identify those critical factors, what would you say are those driving factors that is still helping the Nigerian economy to thrive, to survive and stay afloat, that you believe that it can be leveraged on?
Yeah, well, I want to be a typical Nigerian here by saying that it can only be by the grace of God. That is where I like to start with. We are eternal optimists. Joke apart, our population is a major factor. The population of Nigeria within the sub-Saharan Africa context is, geographical location, but also very, very importantly, and I believe it's something that, a lot of analysts and investors have kind of ignored, is also our population pyramid. If you look at it, you will see that we have, a very, very vibrant workforce. As far as making money is concerned, Nigerians are quick learners. And so when investors are making, calculations in terms of coming to Nigeria to invest, they look at that young, vibrant, population, but they also look at the knowledge base and the skills that young people, have. And so these are, two major factors. one would expect that our policies would have been better. The economic policies would have been better. But of course, it's not totally bad, and that is why even in the midst of all the chaos, Nigeria is still managing to thrive economically. And I'm not making any mistake about this. That Nigeria is thriving economically doesn't necessarily mean that the effect of the thriving economy is actually trickling down to the man on the street. That is where we have, the issue, but it has remained bullish, like you were pointed out in your introduction.
So then what do you think the federal government should do in terms of putting policies on ground to support brain exports and manpower capabilities? Because all we're looking at is how to drive more revenue into the Nigerian economy and scale up the remittance figures. So how do you think the federal government can go about that in terms of policy creation and implementation?
Yeah. Let me preface my answer to that question with, some ray of hope. And that ray of hope is that at the end of the election, I believe that watchers, international investors, who have eyes on Nigeria, are happy about one thing. No matter who out of the three leading, contenders for the position of president of Nigeria come Saturday, the 25th of February, they are happy with the credentials in terms of business credentials of, those that are angling to be the president. And, when they look at their manifestos in terms of how favorable it is for business, they feel happy. However, the fact that Nigeria is now set, whether it is, whoever out of the three leading contenders become, that they will begin to look more into export rather than, import, is a very good thing, because what it then encourages the Nigerian government, and that is now answering your question, what it then encourages them to do is to make it more palatable for production activities to take place in Nigeria, rather than a situation where, export of our commodities are much more encouraged and all of that. So when production begins to happen, it then encourages foreign investors to come out, set up production units in Nigeria to serve the entire, sub-Saharan Africa region and even beyond. So yes, encouraging production, manufacturing in Nigeria is a very, very key policy area.
All right. So before I let you go, I'd like you to also talk about the issue of how you think that the Nigerian government and, of course, those in the diaspora can drive the conversation about foreign contributions, or let me say FDIs, that is foreign direct investments coming into the country, because that is also another way whereby businesses can grow, unemployment rates can be reduced, there will be more jobs, and of course more revenue coming into the country. So what do you think should be the role of the Nigerian government in partnership with with Nigerians in diaspora now to bring about as much as possible FDIs into the country?
I believe that the real transition from rhetorics to real action have got to start happening now. I mean, when you hear of rhetorics like from oil, there are more or equally good opportunities than oil for Nigeria. I mean, non-oil export promotion. We are not hearing that for the first time. But the thing is that there have not been commensurate actions to match those rhetorics. Now, I think Nigerian government should look into that, because traditionally, the diaspora, they are doing quite a lot, leading trade missions to Nigeria, and as well inviting Nigerian businesses to come out here in the diaspora to explore opportunities and all of that. So, I mean, in the non-oil sector. So, I think Nigeria doesn't need much more than encouraging such, exchanges, because, results usually come out of them.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. I'd love to continue with this conversation because we also want to look at the area of the Naira, if the CBN actually got its policy right, and of course the implementation. But then, okay, let me just quickly get your reaction in 30 seconds. What your evaluation of that is, how this has affected the economy, the Naira redesign, the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and how the Apex Bank has actually gone about it.
In 30 seconds, just to say that it could have been handled better. But at the same time, let us not play down the sophistication of both the Nigerian diaspora and their investment friends. They know that this is politics playing out, and they are confident that the dust will settle and everything will return to normal. So yes, it is catastrophic, but there is hope, that things are going to get better.
All right, so we'll hold on to that hope, and we say thank you so much, Mr. Collins Nweke. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.